Hey, Tony Gassins here. Hey, popping in. Now, I only have about 30 minutes today, and so I may have to do another video, but kind of following up about, just where your mindset at, how you feel, how you reacting to what you've gone through. And I did a video yesterday, and very real topic, real topic, sensitive topic. But what you have to realize is a lot of times people don't really understand that I'm not just, a typical YouTuber. Being a relationship coach, I've been doing this for 13 years. Right now, I have over 28,000 emails that are unread that I still have to get through. I have an inbox called inbox@tonygassins.com that people email daily. Thousands of emails in there that I still have to get through. This year, I've probably gone through already in the first 6 months of this year, over 200,000 comments, emails, stories. And so what you got to realize, you actually get less data from your college classes because the books that you read in psychology class were written decades ago. And you know how that information got to you? It got to you by human study. But when those studies were out, when the scientists, when the psychologists were doing the studies, there was no mass way to test people. There was no easy way to get data. There was no YouTube. There was no Instagram. There was no Facebook. So just on YouTube alone, my videos reach over 30 million people every 28 days, just on YouTube alone. My Facebook was reaching 20 million people a week. I stopped using Facebook regularly, but it was reaching 20 million people a week. That's 80 million people a month. That's nearly a billion people a year. And that's what I need you to understand. But see, again, that's also, it's not, so when I speak on something, it's not my racial bias. It is the world that I'm bringing to you, reporting to you live. But it's coming from thousands of case studies, not just 100 people. Some of the stuff that you taken as solid truth in school was a study done on 100 people, a study done on 1,000 people. I'm interacting with hundreds of thousands of comments and questions and emails a year. So, but again, for you to assume that my information is less valid or less valuable is your racial bias. So see, listen, that ain't my racial bias, but you say, oh, it's a young black guy on YouTube. I don't see any degrees on the wall. So that's just his bias. That's just him. That's just his experience. I may share personal experiences with you that show you, that paint a picture of what I already know to be the norm. But see, you may be an exception to the rule. But in my line of work, we can't teach the exception to the rule. You may be the exception to the rule. We teach the rules. So what I bring to you is based on the majority. Now, you may live in a unique area that may be different from every other city in your state, or may be different from every other state in your country. And so you have to realize that. But until you have access to not just tens of thousands, but hundreds of thousands of stories from 6 different continents that come to you directly, not that you Google, then we're not having the same conversation. We're not looking at the same data. So although you may be okay, although you may have 3 friends that's okay, that's not enough data. That's not enough data for you to make a complete blanket statement or assumption. When I come to you with a what you call general statement, it's coming from hundreds of thousands of case studies. So that's why I always say to you, if it don't fit, you must have quit. If it don't apply, let it fly. Your experience is different. Congratulations. You made it out. Congratulations. Good job. Here's a cookie. But that's not what I'm here to do. I'm not here to focus on, oh, you decided to date interracial. It was absolutely amazing. And this is what gets me. Some people just argue for the sake of arguing. And then one thing that I do not ever tolerate is when somebody put a lie in my mouth. If you don't quote me verbatim of what I said, blocked. If you trying to interpret and you put a lie in my, blocked. Because now you lying. Now you defamation of character. Because ain't nothing I say gonna be ignorant and unhinged. That's just not me. I process everything I say before I do a video. I done analyze it from 3-4 different angles. So I'm bringing to you, although it may be a free flow delivery off the top of my dome, I'm bringing to you a well thought out, collected idea. Cool, calm, and collected idea or theory, or something that could be proved as law because of the hundreds or tens of thousands of times that I've seen it to be true. You get less evidence presented to you as fact in your college classroom. I went to college 8 years, long enough to have a doctorate, PhD, long enough to have a PhD now by, or at least a doctorate. I went to college 8 years, sat in the classes with you, read the information with you. 4 different majors. I had 4 different majors. I studied all kind of stuff. I was interested in all kind of stuff. So I sat in there with you, but that don't define me. It don't define me. And one thing that I know that God has blessed me with is the ability to reach. Because the psychologist or the scientist that wrote your textbook that you learned from, I guarantee you that they didn't have an outlet to reach tens of millions of people a month and get data from tens of thousands of people every month in a condensed form. They had to send out surveys in the mail, hope that the person would answer the survey and mail it back. They had to go out in the street, catch a person off guard and ask a question. They had to watch people without them knowing and study human behavior. So they weren't in a position to hear from tens of thousands of human experiences. So when your experience is different from what I'm describing, God bless you. God bless you. We wish you the best. We wish you the best. But what I'm preparing people for is the majority cases that you're going to find when you go into the world. So if you prepare for the rule, then you can benefit if you become the exception to the rule. But if you're not prepared for the standard, then you're going to be a victim of the standard. So that's what I'm here to do. I'm not here to highlight the one couple that went against all conventional wisdom and living in fairy taleville. I'm not here to highlight that and make that the norm, because it's not the norm. And anybody who's looking at something objectively and not just in their feelings, then because their toes were stepped on or because what they want to believe was disrupted, then you can step back and see it. I was talking to a client and she said, I don't agree with everything that I see people say online, but if I don't agree, I'm not going to leave a comment, because that's their opinion, that's their take on it, and that's their outlet. And I was like, that's a level of emotional intelligence. I talked to my wife. She said the same thing. She was like, I'm not going out my way to argue with somebody about their beliefs on their page. That's a level of intelligence. It's a lot of stuff I see online that I don't agree with, but I'm not going to argue with it because I know they're looking at it from their vantage point. But what I will do is express my side on my outlet, on my page. So that's where you have to look at what triggers you and why does it trigger you? And are you truly being honest with yourself about the data that you have? And how much data do you have? Is it just you and your friend circle, you and your family experiences? I mean, do you have a way to hear from tens of thousands of people, to see other people's experiences and what they experience? So now yesterday I did a video on interracial dating, and I saw it was married people who wrote me and said, Tony, that video was 100% true. I'm happily married in an interracial relationship, and I could tell you it comes with its own set of problems. I also can tell you that men gonna be men, that you're gonna deal with issues with every color man. And then there was people who wrote me who they were claiming that all of their interracial relationships have been perfect, with no racial tension, no racial bias. And it's like, just because you were blind to it, I don't know what world you living in. Every part of the world going through racial bias and racial prejudice, discrimination, every part of the world. So just because you weren't raised that way and you don't see color, God bless you. So if you don't see color, you didn't notice the people over here looking at you and your person like y'all crazy. You didn't notice that. You didn't know that when your food got made in the back and the person saw who they were serving and they didn't like what they saw, you didn't notice the little bit of slob in your dressing. You ain't noticed that spit in your dressing because it blended in. You ain't noticed that nose hair in your pasta. You didn't notice that because you weren't looking for it, because you weren't aware of it. So, but that don't mean that it does not exist. That don't mean that it don't exist. That don't mean that I'm lying because I say, look, you're going to have a whole nother set of issues. And then some people thought I was talking about that I was telling black women, you not worthy to date outside your race. And that's just foolish. That's ridiculous, because I would never say anything like that. And I did not say anything like that. What I said is, if you think that's going to be the solution, you sadly mistaken. If you think that's going to end all of your problems, you sadly mistaken. You're going to go into a new world of new problems that you got to be prepared for. So make sure you're going with the right motives, with the right heart, and the right energy. So listen, think about how you respond to life, how you respond to different messages. You know, I listen to people that I might not agree with nothing they saying, but I need to understand the mindset and the thought process of the other side of across the aisle. I need to understand that. Like, I sense a lot of racial undertones when I watch Fox News. It's a guy, I can't remember the man's name right now. Now I know Hannity, but it's another name. It's another guy, Sean Holmes or Carter. I can't remember the man's name, but I watch him. I watch his videos on YouTube. Man, when I tell you these guys have so much what sounds like prejudice in their heart, but I listen to them. And I listen to them more than the people who sound like they on my side. But I listen to them because I need to know the thought process. I need to know what people who think like them, I need to know how they thinking. So that's what you got to understand. It's like when I express something that's not your experience, that don't mean that what I'm expressing is invalid. What it means is that now you understand, now you get the opportunity to understand the other side of the aisle, things that maybe you haven't been able to see, things that may not be in your city, may not be in your state, may not be in your culture, may not be in your country. You may come in contact with it when you step outside of that bubble that you're in. But see, me, I don't get the pleasure of being in my own bubble because I'm a public figure. So you got to imagine, you can't deal with my opinion. Imagine being me and got to deal with hundreds of thousands of opinions every year. Imagine having 3 million people on your social media networks that you got to hear from with all their opinions and all their life stories. You mad with my opinion. You mad with your friends and family opinion. Imagine getting hundreds of thousands of opinions. You see what I'm saying? So I'm forced to be outside of my bubble. So anytime when somebody call me limited view and all that, and that's ignorance, because that's impossible for me to have a limited view. It may sound limited because I have the ability to condense thousands of case studies into a singular thought. So although I may make it look easy or sound simple, it's very complex and it's so nuanced, and it is very difficult to process thousands of people's life experience, and to have to do so on a daily basis, 24 hours of the day. I was up to 3 o'clock in the morning last night. Emails were still coming in. I was up still studying, still working, still reading through people's stories, reading through people ideas and experiences, because it helped me keep my finger on the pulse. It helped me keep my finger on the pulse. So what I bring to you, it's not my bias. It's not my idea of a utopian world. It's my summary of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. By the end of this year, already I done went through over 200,000 commentary alone. Over 200,000 already. By the end of this year, I'm gonna be at over 500,000 of commentary that can come my way in the form of emails, comments, questions, DMs. My Facebook inbox probably at 10,000. My Instagram inbox I can't keep up with. And the people who write me, and some of y'all listen to this and wrote me, and you can attest to, maybe wrote a life story. Some of y'all watching this have wrote me and haven't heard back. And it's because I got thousands of emails and messages to get through. So I take all of those experiences, all that information, all that data that a psychologist, psychiatrist, scientist would kill to have. That's voluntary data. Didn't have to pay nobody, didn't have to coerce nobody. Because a lot of times, think about this, you get a letter in the mail, you might lie. Am I happy? Yes. Am I in an interracial relationship? Yes. Am I 100% happy? Yes. Why might you put yes? Because your partner sitting right beside you, filling out the census with you. You see what I'm saying? So actually, the data that those individuals who work in that space collecting the census, they reading a bunch of lies, because people don't trust them. People don't trust anything coming in their mailbox or a survey from a professional institution or a government. People don't trust that, so they lying on it. Man, I ain't finna tell you how many people live in my house. You finna charge me more taxes. Man, I ain't finna tell you that. Man, I ain't finna. People be on them sense lying. And that's the data that we get on Google. When you Google how many such and such, this percent of this does this. But the data that I'm bringing you, this unadulterated, It's just coming hot off the press. It's coming voluntarily, free of charge, hot off the press, that I'm evaluating and dealing with. And every day I work with 2 to 6 people a day. Monday through Thursday, I work with 2 to 6 people a day from all over the world. Got clients on 6 different continents, from the age of early 20s to 70s to mid 70s. All races, all mixes, nationalities. That's what I'm doing in the trenches. So when I bring you something, please understand it's the furthest thing from a limited perspective. It's the furthest thing from that. So that right there, that's what you got to understand. But hey, this right here, random video. I may have to do a teaching video, post it later. I may film that video on my break. But I just want to do this little follow-up video for the few people that watch this, just to help you understand what I'm doing and where I'm coming from when I bring you something on this here channel. And you know, in the comment section and stuff, sometimes folks get a little wild. If stuff ain't moving the story forward, or if you have a certain word, it's certain words that you put in your commentary that YouTube deletes, YouTube removes. So don't always think that that's a moderator or that's me deleting or removing a comment, because if you put a certain word in there, it'll get turned into spam. It'll get put in the spam folder. And then what I have, when I go on my dashboard, when I go in there, I have probably 8 to 10,000. I can't remember the number because it's just too daunting. I'm not finna go through it. But I got over 10, probably up to 10,000 comments that still have to be approved, because YouTube puts stuff that is likely spam. Typically stuff if you got a hashtag or you got a website, or you just wrote in all caps, or you commented too many times, or so it's a lot of stuff that end up in the spam or trash folder that I would have to go through, and I ain't got that kind of time. So I'm really all the comments I'm seeing is the ones that is YouTube approved. Now the ones I'm gonna remove, if you put a lie in my mouth, you lying on me because you ain't want to listen, and you put a lie in my mouth, absolutely. And you do it twice, I'm blocking you. You're gonna have to watch me from another page. You know what I mean? And so God bless you. But the thing about it is, I'm not here to bring anything other than an unadulterated perspective that may or may not be your experience or your truth. And if it's not, it's something for you to consider so that you understand what's happening outside of your bubble, outside of your world, outside of your circle, outside of your city. It's something that is a majority for a lot of people, even though it may not be the case for you. But that's a part of intelligence, is understanding multiple perspectives and then being able to decide what's best for you. And what's best for you don't necessarily need to be announced to the world. That's your choice. And that's what you got to realize. And so, you know, when you think about this here, you got to sit with it for yourself. And it's some tough topics, you know, that is hard to process. And a lot of people ain't willing to go there. But me, I'm independent. You know, I don't have endorsement deals that's paying me monthly or something like that to where I say something that could be offensive, but it's only going to offend you if it's true. If it ain't true, then it shouldn't even affect you. But if it's an inkling of it that's true, and it's coming from a person like myself who is an honest person coming from a genuine place, not a heckler, then you got to confront that. What you feeling, what it's making you feel, you got to confront that and say, why is this perspective angering me? Why is this perspective upsetting me? And so, hey, think on it. And God bless you. And we'll talk soon. I got to coach a client here. We'll talk soon.